Hi, and welcome to Female Entrepreneurs Magazine, your go to platform for ambitious women who are ready to take the business world by storm. I'm your host, Angel France, and each week we'll dive into the latest strategies, stories, and success secrets from the most inspiring female entrepreneurs around the world. Today on The Real Female Entrepreneurs, we're diving into one of the most overlooked success strategies out there, real connection. Our next guest is soon to be a therapist, friendship expert, and human connection obsessed coach with more certifications than coffee mugs. With over 5,000 hours of coaching under her belt, she blends evidence based self help with a big splash of soul to help people feel genuinely seen and socially confident. In a world that's more connected yet lonelier than ever, she's redefining what it means to show up and be real. Say hello to the beautifully imperfect and wildly impactful Jewel Hohman. Welcome, Jewel.
Welcome. Wow, the warmest welcome ever. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. You're just such a breath of fresh air. I really would love to know what brought you to become the entrepreneur you are. I mean, something had to happen.
Something have to happen. And that means so much coming from you. I'm having the best time talking with you today. So, I could just hang out with you all day. I think, like just so many entrepreneurs, I saw a need, I saw a problem. It was a need that I had, a problem that I had that I was like, I'm so passionate about this. This is exactly what I want to spend my entire life doing. So, growing up, I felt very lonely, socially anxious. I do not have the best relationships with my family. And people kept telling me, "Oh, it's going to get better as you get older." Now, I know I look young for my age, but I'm almost 30. And so I was getting older, and I wasn't feeling any better. And then I started experiencing what so many people experience, which is called the friendship dip. So when you get to your mid 20s, maybe mid 30s for some people, you start moving away, people start getting married, they start having kids. We start to experience friendship dip where we're no longer surrounded by our peer group all the time. And so I just took my like psychology research skills and I was like, I need to figure this out. I am experiencing this dip. I do not want to feel lonely and socially anxious for the rest of my life. And that kicked off this entire journey where now it's been over 5 years later and clients from all over the world, which is so fun. And yeah, just like just like I'm sure a lot of the beautiful stories that you've heard.
Yeah, the stories are just amazing. So, and the what you're talking about is something that happens to just about every entrepreneur. It's because they're so focused on work
Mhm.
and their friends sometimes don't understand. And that's what's great about us doing this, because sometimes the friends do not understand what they're doing because their friends have a 9 to 5 job, but they're still working afterwards. I mean, are you coming across a lot of that?
Yeah, definitely. I would say too, I have a big group of clients where they have also, whether it's entrepreneurial, because I do have a lot of entrepreneurs, but whether it's entrepreneurial or just like work, dare I say, like work obsessed in general. And then they get years down the line and they're like, where did my support circle go? So I get both ends, right? Where it's like, okay, I don't feel like I have time. I don't feel like my friends understand. And the other end of like, nope, work and family are the top important thing. And then when your kids start leaving the nest, when maybe you change jobs or it starts to slow down and you look around, like who are you going to be making memories with, spending time with? So I get kind of both of those situations often.
And I can understand that 100% because I was in that position too, going, okay, yeah, I have this, I have that, I have this, but you know, I'm not connecting with anybody, especially since COVID. You're not
Mhm.
connecting really with anybody. And that's how female entrepreneurs came up after a long vision. It was like, okay, I really want, these are my people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful thing to do for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
for you know what? And that's what people need to understand, they're doing it for themselves. Even if they
Mhm.
stop work and they go out with their family or friends or whatever it is, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I do wanna say is obviously, of course, I'm a bit biased. I think friendship is one of the most healing and amazing things in the world. But one of my supervisors would always say she is a mental health therapist for many, many years. And she always says connection is the foundation for mental health. And
Oh,
as an entrepreneur, if you like listening to this, right? If you're like, okay, yeah, but I really am so busy, y'all, I get it. I think entrepreneurs were also very multi-passionate. Very often we're passionate about a lot of things. We're so excited about what we do and we have so much drive. And I want to encourage everybody to look at friendship as self care. Because when you are having that laugh, when you are getting support from your friends, when you are having that flood of oxytocin, which is like the love hormone, the bonding of it, your body reacts differently to stress or you're more resilient to stress. It's easier because as an entrepreneur, we go out there, we get rejected a lot, right? I cannot tell you how many times I've put myself out there and I'm like, oh, okay, that didn't happen as an entrepreneur. That's a huge part of the journey. And so to have people there that are your support, that are cheering you on, that you can go and again make memories with and laugh with, it's essential, I think, to our resilience in keeping and going with that as well. It's been essential for me. And so to view friendship as self care has been huge. I am to the point where I have so many things on my plate, to be frank with everybody, that I've been like, okay, I can't have like a thought. Like, I can't think straight because there's way too many tabs open. There's, so much going on right now. And my friends have been such an amazing support for me in that. And so, one thing that happens for a lot of people is we don't know how to get support from their friends, which is like an entire skill we need to learn. Now, what you started saying, I do want to touch on it a little bit of like, there are going to be some instances where you feel like your friends don't care, like you're trying to communicate where you're at. Or I shouldn't say that your friends don't care. I mean, that does happen too, but where your friends don't understand.
you know.
And we can try to communicate that, and there's certain strategies and things that we can do, but uh, there are many lonely female entrepreneurs, and that's why the space that you're creating is so essential and so supportive. I mean, you gave me a little hint on some of your plans for the future, which is so fun. So everybody stay tuned because if you're feeling a little bit lonely, Angel's got something up her sleeve for everybody. But um, there are people out there, and I think continuing to prioritize in some way, shape, or form your social health is important as an entrepreneur.
So talking about social health, it
Mhm,
brings me to balance. And that is one thing that's hard for most people to actually put into play.
mhm.
So, if you don't mind, do you mind sharing what are some of the best ways for people who are building careers or their own business to actually, you know, deal with their personal life, family
Yeah,
life, and so forth?
absolutely. So keeping on this balance trend, I'm gonna keep it again like social health, friendship focused. So, one thing that's really helpful as an entrepreneur, again, I was just saying I have all these tabs open. One thing is, and especially too, is women, right? Like we have so many tabs open, especially if y'all have kids, right? So, it's really helpful to get it off your mental load and to have something that's regularly scheduled. And it's going to be imperfect because life is happens and imperfect. But an example of that is every Monday, I know that I am going to my friend's place and we sometimes we go on walks, sometimes we just sit there and coexist. One time, one of our friends was like, "I still am working, but I'm just gonna come over and sit there while you work," 'cause it's really good for our brain to know that we have this support in these people. So, building in something that's a routine, it does take a little bit to start. Do not be discouraged by the logistics of planning with your close friends, but that could even be a weekly Zoom. Maybe you get on Zoom, you share your highs and your lows, and then you co work together. Something along those lines. Having something set in stone that you don't have to think about is really helpful. And again, life happens. So sometimes, right, like there's times where this has been canceled, etc. But we've been doing this for over a year and a half now. And it's just like part of our routine. even with those life things happening. So that's really huge. Another thing that is really huge, I think, for people is, and I didn't come up with this, to be honest, I don't really know who did. There's like debate online about it, but it's brilliant. There's this 8-minute rule. So, an 8-minute phone call rule. And having how it works is like telling your friends, like, hey, I need 8 minutes. As an entrepreneur, this has been so huge for me. So huge. Of, hey, can I talk to you? Because we're busy, we have a lot going on. But okay, I have 8 minutes. Stick to that boundary, stick to that rule. But those 8 minutes have been essential for me and being like, okay, here is where I need support, right? Maybe I just got rejected from this like pitch that I just did and I'm so bummed about it. And then maybe because we all have it, right? You're having these thoughts this moment where you're like, oh, is it ever going to work out? And you're starting to panic. Messaging one of my friends, hey, do you have 8 minutes? Sticking to that boundary, it's a great time to get that emotional support, to get your cup filled up. And when you know that you're going to stick to that boundary of 8 minutes and good, it's something that like can regularly be a part of your routine, right? I would say probably once a month because I've established that rule with my friends. Once a month, I either ask for 8 minutes from somebody or I give 8 minutes. And it's such a rewarding and beautiful thing to do. So things like that. But honestly, the third tip, which is going to be the most essential and it's going to be the hardest and the most rewarding for everybody, because the last thing I want to do is I want someone to hear this and think, oh, I have another thing to add to my plate. So it's going to be the hardest because you're going to have to interrupt some thoughts quite a bit. It's also going to be the easiest and the most fun at the same time. And that is to put on your connection glasses. And what I mean by that is it's so easy, especially in our current culture, to blow off connection, to think that it isn't important, and to also think, oh, well, other people don't care. Because when we spend more and more time alone, it's easier to just look around and be like, oh, well, I'm not close to people. And that's just going to make you want to retreat even more into yourself, those
Mhm.
kinds of thoughts. It's just going to make us more socially avoidant. So, putting in your connection glasses is, if you can imagine wearing a pair of glasses, it's seeing through the lens of connection. So, I did this for a year and it radically, like the chemistry in my brain, I felt it. I still feel it. And I haven't done this activity in a while. But I used to journal or write down my thoughts every night. And you could do this whenever, y'all. If you even have like a 5-minute journal, like one of those gratitude things, you write it in the margins. But I would write 3 ways that people had invested in me that week. So maybe I was in a group setting and somebody was like, hey, Jewel didn't get to finish her thought. Write that down. Writing down the times where people have reached out to me, writing down the thoughtful compliments. That had me looking for connection. And what happens is when you look for connection like that, you feel more connected and then you're more motivated to go create more of it. You behave more connectedly, right? So it was easier naturally doing that. I started like texting people like, "Oh, I'm thinking about you doing this," or "Let's get together." Like naturally, it became more and more part of my life because I was starting with that. So again, I say it's the hardest because it's a habit we need to interrupt as well, of just being like, "Oh, not important," or "Oh, I don't have any." It's easy to get caught up in that negativity bias.
Wow. I love that. I love the 8 minute, and I love the fact that you put it on your glasses to connect and journal about it. That is amazing tips, guys. What a
Thank
great
you.
yeah, that just gives somebody I would love that. Somebody call me and just say, "Hey, Angel, I just need 8 minutes of your time 'cause I'm getting ready to scream." I'd be like, "Cool, go for it."
It's so bonding. It's so bonding.
Yep. So, what advice do you have for women that are trying to grow their business and might be struggling a little bit? Because it happens to all of us.
Mhm. So, switching from the, like, social health connection lens, I do think, and anybody, if you ever, like, go to my social media, I'll just pause for a little bit. I don't have a lot of followers, but I have always been full-time in my business, and I don't think it's because I'm, you know, like better or smarter or whatever it may be than any of my colleagues, but I really think a huge part of that is I do two things. When I go out and I connect with people, one, I make it really like easy to connect with me. And I think as an entrepreneur, it's really good to know that your elevator pitch is clear and connective and can get people on board. So when I started, I would tell people, yeah, this is really important to me because I'm really worried about the younger generation like facing even higher trends of social anxiety and loneliness. And again, when I was saying this, it was like almost 6 years ago, and I was absolutely right. Gen Z is now the loneliest generation. So I would tell people, I'm worried about this. I want to find people that are feeling lonely and socially anxious, and I want to help them. And saying that to people would make people be like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking of this friend. I'm thinking of this person here. So when I was networking, it was very easy for people to be like, here, I'm on board to support what you're doing. So I do think that is huge. Another thing that has been absolutely like world changing, if you will, for my business is I have grown well, almost entirely through two things, like referrals, making sure my clients have a great experience, and through podcast pitching. I've done over 100 podcast guests, which is part of the reason why I'm able to explain things so succinctly as I've done it over and over and over again and practiced, right? But connective pitches have been huge in my business. So if somebody's struggling to grow, and again, everybody's business is different. So, take what you feel really serves you and your business, but having connective pitches where I was making it easy for the podcast host to say yes to me. I would literally write, here's a possible title for your podcast based on things that you have said. And had a template that, again, let them know about me and my mission and what I'm doing and why it's important. That was huge. And now we've made a system about it where I have these templates that I've made that are really connective. There's a lot of fill in the blanks because making them personal, making it easy for the podcast host to say yes was huge. But now I have an amazing, beautiful virtual assistant who now does that process for me. So
Yay!
yeah, which is beautiful, right? It's she's amazing, and it took, right, a lot of those connective pitches, but all in all to say, because I feel you, and if you are struggling growing your business, everybody's gonna have, like, different advice, like, really think about ways that are effective for you and your particular business model, and I really do think more of us would grow with, like, less effort if we centered connection a little bit more in the pitches that we made, in the elevator speeches that we gave, in the connections that we did, because I can tell when I'm like, oh, I just need to get business, the kind of energy that I'm in and going to a networking event has not really been fruitful for me, because I've been there.
Do you have a course on those templates that you use or
I I actually do not, which you know what? Maybe stick around because You an angel warned me about this when we started this interview. She said, "You're probably gonna get an idea." So, yeah, maybe that's something we can put together on how to do, but it's something that I have just been doing, and it's been really helpful for me.
Yeah, so that has been one of the popular things that are trending right now is
Mm,
getting on 20 podcasts a month or 2 months to promote yourself. That is what they're encouraging, and it's just a trendy thing right now, which I think is gonna continue. So,
yeah.
I think that's a gold mine you have right there if there's templates that work for you.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been ahead of a trend before. That's amazing. Beautiful.
So knowing what you've learned in your business so far, what advice would you go back and tell your 18-year-old self?
My 18-year-old self, oh my goodness. What advice? I think having systems has been huge. Again, that that system I just explained. And it took a while, again, to get there and to figure out, but my advice to my past self would probably be, well, and to my 18-year-old self who wasn't an entrepreneur yet, this is such a good question. Okay, so beginning entrepreneurial Jewel, I would say to do one system at a time and build it out. And I know sometimes it doesn't always work like that. Maybe you need to do a couple, especially in the beginning, to get things rolling. But once you have that going, it's so much easier to work, and again, to take that like mental load, because a lot of it's like the mental figuring out of it all.
Mhm.
That's been really helpful, is having systems. What I would tell my 18-year-old self is that you don't have to be a productivity machine to be successful too, is what I would also say. I think I spent a lot of my early years as an 18-year-old, you know, trying to do all the things in college, trying to do all the things and very socially anxious and afraid of people, which is a miserable experience. But uh, I would tell her that you do not have to be a productivity machine. It's never going to look like, flawless and perfect. And the way that you work, now that I also really understand human behavior, like we learn and we grow and we go through cycles where they call it like upcycle every time, right? But we go through these down dips where we learn, and then we're like, okay, back at it again, and we keep going.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you brought up the fact that do the project, but it doesn't have to be perfect to start,
Mhm.
because it's not going to be. You're gonna find a way to fix it every single time.
Yeah. So true. Yes, every single time.
Every single time there's gonna be something new. You're gonna change something. You're gonna tweak something. So
Mhm.
just put it, and sometimes you really don't know what you have in your hand unless you put it out there imperfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. Definitely.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And I think that's such a good point, because I think I don't think perfectionism has really increased, like the perfectionist mindset that we all have. And perfectionism can really stop us from putting work out there and even saying, I'm experimenting with this. Especially if you are listening and you do social content, that is one thing I have realized about myself recently, is I love so much more if I'm watching somebody when they're like, "Here's what I think." And I'll be like, "Oh, what? Let's have a conversation." So it's that's such a good point. That's such a good point, and something for everybody to be mindful of.
So I had somebody on, a fundraising expert, and she said instead of asking somebody for like $10,000, just look at them and say, "Okay, so can you mind giving me some advice on how I can get the 10,000?" She goes, "I usually write out their check."
Mm, so good. That's
So
so good.
I love that. So yeah, it goes hand in hand with that. All right. What for female entrepreneurs, business owners, what is a key strategy that has helped you advance in your career?
A key strategy. Yeah, I think centering connection
Mm.
has been huge for me. I keep track of like where all of my, quote unquote leads come from. And again, they really come from podcasts because they're so connective. I really believe, especially with the work that I do, because the work that I do, helping adults feel more socially confident, helping adults overcome high functioning social anxiety, helping them have more meaningful friendships. It's so personal. So the
Mhm.
connective piece is especially essential to my business, like for my person to feel really connected to me. So centering that, I would also say centering connection in my marketing. I had somebody say this recently and I was like, that's exactly it. But they said the best marketing is really empathetic. And it's where you really understand what that person is going through. And I don't mean empathetic like you're, as somebody may think, like you're being like soft and like, oh, maybe if you want to do, like I don't mean like soft like that, but I mean empathetic, and you really understand that person, and you're spelling out exactly what they're feeling. And how often have we heard that, like, your ideal avatar? We hear that a lot in these spaces, but it's so true. Communicating to your person that you really understand them, and you're even answering, like, you might have this objection, and that has been also huge. Huge, huge, huge.
Yeah. That understanding. I mean, it says it's empathy, but it's understanding where they're at so you can ask that
Mhm.
next question to them to get more out of them, really.
Yes, yes, to ask that next question. Yes, exactly,
Mhm.
exactly.
So tell me about, so besides we've already discovered you have a course in there. I'm so excited about it. I can't wait to get the templates and everything. Can you share any future other plans that you have?
Yes, so I also think too as an entrepreneur when we change paths or, like, again, I find a lot of us are multi-passionate,
Mhm.
and for a while, I was having this passion, this, like, real nudge over here, but I was so entrenched in my current, like, entrepreneurial path that I was like, "Ah, we can't, like, ignore that." And for me personally, listening to that has been huge. So my plan going forward, what I ultimately wanna do, and this is why I decided to go back to school because, again, I work at very, like, lifestyle behaviors and, yes, helping people feel more connected, but I really don't deal with, like, mental health.
Right.
And deciding to go back and be a therapist was informed because I was working with people and I was getting frustrated that there were no ways to make this even more accessible. And I was getting frustrated. I was getting frustrated, and I was like, "Ah, well, Jewel, like, what can you do, right? You do have to make a living, etc." And I now have learned that there's something called social prescribing, and so it's been done really well in the UK. And social prescribing is kind of like how it sounds. It's giving somebody a social prescription. So somebody comes in and maybe they're dealing with chronic pain, maybe they're dealing with depression, anxiety, whatever it may be. It could just be an average Joe just looking for more connection as well. And they will get, like, assessed by somebody, and that person will figure out what really matters to you. What are you passionate about? What's important to you? And they will pair this person with, like, a fishing group, an art class, a
Oh, wow.
swimming class, a, nature walk, and, like, helping that person get involved in a community-based intervention that matters to them. And there's so many benefits in the ways that it takes some burden off of, like, our healthcare model and, like, so many things that overall, all around is really supportive and helpful for people. And listening to that, like, finally being like, "Okay, what can I do?" Like, I this keeps coming up for me, this nudge of making something more accessible, and I was like, "Okay, I can, as a therapist, like, run certain codes that we already have to get funding to run, like, social prescriptions for people." And I still love what I do. I love educating on connection. I love helping individuals. I still want to do that very much, but allowing myself to expand and to listen and to follow that and see what else is there, while also at the same time remaining focused on what I'm doing. It's such a balance and it's such an art, and I don't have a perfect answer because I don't have it all figured out. I'm always growing and learning with it, but that is my future plan, is to have a clinic where eventually we can offer social prescriptions to people here in Michigan.
Wow. So that's all intertwined and interconnected so much in what you're already doing. So I don't see it's
Mhm.
like a total venture off. It just is a total add-on to what you're doing.
Mhm.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
That is going to be amazing. I can't wait to see that and what all transpires. You have to keep us posted so we know.
Thank you. Yes, I will. I will.
All right, on the lighter side, if you had a superpower for just 24 hours, one day, what would it be?
It would definitely be to fly. Oh my goodness. Wouldn't it just be so fun? Absolutely. I wouldn't stop the entire day, just everywhere.
I think it would be fun too. I think I'm really more of like a time travel girl, but I really but it's almost the same. Think about it.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, just
Either
fun
way.
to experience. Yeah.
All right. What's one fun fact about you that not a lot of people know about?
A fun fact about me is I live in Michigan, where it is cold and snowy and wet and icy. And my mom said, "Hey, it'll be great for you to learn how to drive in that." I ended up crashing the driver's ed car because it was snowy, okay? It was wild, but I still got my license. So most people don't know that about me.
Well, I'm a New Orleans girl. Do not put me in snow and ice. I will probably crash too. So don't worry about it, honey. I understand.
Yep. Yeah, it was it was a time. It was a time, that's for sure. I was like, "Okay, that was very smart, mom. I definitely learned how to drive in the snow."
That is funny. You crashed a driver's ed car. That's funny. All right. So a favorite book?
A favorite book. Oh my goodness. I wrote a self-help book, but this is actually my favorite book. My favorite book is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. It is by Taylor Jenkins Reid. It is so good, so good. I recommend everybody to read it. It talks so much about, like, the female experience in so many different ways. It follows a woman, like a 1950s 1950s actress, maybe even earlier than 1950s actress, but it's so much more than the celebrity of it all. It has such a deep and meaningful story that will just blow you away. So, that one.
Okay, it's on the list. Never heard of it. And what is the book you wrote?
The book I wrote, is How to Be Yourself by Dr. Ellen Jenkins. She's a psychologist that has spent her entire career studying, like, social anxiety and its relationship with perfectionism,
Oh,
and
wow.
that has I read that book years ago, and it's what kicked me off and, like, okay, I can change things. Like, things can be different for me, and a lot of my work, it always comes back to her principles. So,
That's amazing. All right. What about song or songs?
song or songs? I would say my song I wrote down "Could Have Been Me" by The Struts. It's a really good song that can just get you feeling really alive and excited about how you're living and what you're doing, and as an entrepreneur, I think that that's so important. So,
It really is. All right. What about a favorite quote?
my favorite quote, I always come back to this, it guides so many of my decisions, and I don't even remember who said it, but I think about it constantly, and it's, "Spend the day, or the way you spend your day is the way you spend your life."
Ooh,
Now, again, I'm a very multi-passionate person. I can't do every single thing I want in a day. But I normally make decisions based on, okay, how do I want to spend my life? Okay, my week, I want my week to reflect that,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
I like that. I like that. So you're having a focus on what you want to be today, this week, this month.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a necessity. How do you stay motivated?
How do I stay motivated? What a good question. So I have motivation too is a little tricky for me
Mm,
because I have ADHD, and motivation is something I think a lot of us want more and more of. I think it's just in general. There's a difference between motivation and task initiation, though. So, task initiation, there's like some tricks that I need to do because you could be really motivated about something. Because being motivated is like, oh, I want to do this, I want to keep going, etc. Initiating that task is different, though. Like turning that into a task, there's certain things that help with that. But anyway, I digress. How I stay motivated, it's cheesy, but it's true, like, really going back to having a strong why, and how often have we heard this advice, but it's so helpful to, feeling purposeful, I think is really essential for me and for a lot of entrepreneurs listening. I'm sure they can absolutely relate, and, again, I think it also goes back to that quote because we could feel really purposeful, but in the face of, like, doubt and fear of, "Is this gonna work?" or uncertainty, it always this other quote helps me a lot with that, and it's like, "Shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you'll land among the stars." And reminding myself, "Okay, I can shoot for this moon, but even if I don't hit this exact goal, I don't, hit this big dream, it's not a tragedy. I'm landing among, like, such a beautiful place, and who knows where else that may take me."
Yeah. That's been my favorite quote since about 19. Love that
Really?
quote. Mhm,
Oh my
mhm.
gosh, yeah, and that makes sense with everything that you have accomplished and done. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that saying.
Thank you.
Alrighty. What is the best way for our audience to stay connected with you?
Yes, you can find me at connectionwithjewel.com. I am really active on all the social media stuff, but I have a resource I'm so proud of. It was used at the largest women's conference in Michigan, and my team and I loved it so much that we turned it into a training for everybody. So if you go to connectionwithjewel.com/resources, and Jewel is spelled like a gem or like a rock, Jewel. There are a bunch of resources there, but our favorite one, the one that we are so proud of, is about how to turn people you meet into friends.
Oh,
And so you can get that training.
oh, that is a
Yeah.
much needed training. Everybody needs to get that for sure. That is like so necessary. All right. Is there anything else you want to share with our audience before we leave?
I just want to share because I'm hearing myself, y'all, and as I'm going through this episode, and I'm hearing him like, okay, some of this is really generic advice. And I'm realizing, oh, but that's actually so true though. And I think sometimes if we hear something so often, it can kind of become cliche. But I think I'm listening to myself talk throughout this interview and I'm recognizing, oh yeah, there's a reason why this became like cliche, if you will. It is so like so many people can relate to this because it was so useful for them. And I think reminding myself of that has been really huge throughout this interview. And I think maybe if you're somebody like me where you've been in the entrepreneurial space for a while and you're like, okay, yeah, I do think it is something to be like, okay, wait, no, this like, really works and is important. Yeah.
Yeah, connection is the main key for anybody in business because if you do not have those connections, you won't be able to grow from
Mhm.
referrals and exponentially as a whole and not go, okay. And it might look like from the outside, oh my God, things are just happening for that person, but you don't know what they did in the back end. You don't
Right.
know what connections they were making. You don't know what how many times they failed. So you just need to understand that it was a growth and your connection is key to that whole thing, Joel.
Yeah, and even you're connected to your why, right? Like
Mhm.
how often have we heard that? But it is so key. Like the ability to be like, okay, this is why I want to do this, and then our both of our favorite quote of, and then I get to land among the stars. Like it's yeah,
Mhm. That's
yeah.
it. All right. You are amazing. Thank you so much, Joel, for being with us.
Oh, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Female Entrepreneurs Magazine. I hope you found inspiration, actionable tips, and a sense of connection with our incredible community of driven women. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a review, and share the episode with fellow entrepreneurs who are ready to elevate their game. Remember, your success is just the beginning, and we're here to support you in every step of the way. Until next time, keep shining, keep thriving, and remember, you have the power to create the business and life of your dreams. Stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.